Hey everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Matt, Christy, Alonso just premiered at Sundance and now available for your dancing and dining pleasure on Netflix is the Taylor Swift documentary Miss Americana. Christy, you want to describe?
I'll go. So I've never really been a big Taylor Swift fan.
Mhm.
Like, I appreciate that she writes her own songs and she's created her own image, but I had, as the movie explores, kind of negative ideas about her online, and she just seemed like an overgrown child hanging out with models, whatever. But I came to appreciate her so much as an artist, as a young woman trying to find her way in, an impossible world that scrutinizes every little thing that you do. I came to appreciate her greatly. We've seen a lot of documentaries over the years about major pop stars like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga.
Bieber.
Right. There was a Bieber one, there was a Jonas Brothers one, and for the most part, they're like extended infomercials for these people. Although the Lady Gaga one was deeper than that. But like this one, Taylor Swift is very candid, albeit still in a very carefully curated manner. But it explores this period of flux in her life as she's about to turn 30 and decides that she's tired of being a good girl. She's tired of desperately craving attention and approval and pats on the head and gold stars. Like, it's been ingrained in her life to be the good girl, to behave and to get approval and not to rock the boat. And especially in country music, where she came from, she never wanted to speak her mind. And now she's at a point where I think a lot of people have felt over the last several years that perhaps if they never spoke their mind politically, like, now you got to do it.
Yeah.
If not now, when?
Right.
And so she dares to speak about Marsha Blackburn, who was running for Senate from Tennessee, where Taylor Swift lived, and how appalling Taylor Swift found so many of her policies. She refers to her as Trump in a wig. And, she's very anti-gay and extremely conservative and
Anti-choice.
backward.
And some of the things, she makes it, and I was glad they included this, and there's a relevance because she says, among other things, the Defense Against Women Act is something that Blackburn is against, and that addresses stalking, which she's experienced, right? So I'm glad that came up. This movie, I was really interested. I mean, look, all of these movies about the major pop stars, as much as we can argue about how much they're curated and
Designed to
sell out, there's one thing that I think there's no denying is how much work everyone puts in to maintaining that level, that persona. Like, it's lest we forget, it is more than a full-time job. And, it comes with, it comes with a lot of perks. Absolutely. But it comes with a lot of, you lose a lot of things. Like, she talks about how, one of her, I think it was her choreographer, she's doing his nails. And she's like, yeah, I had to learn to do this because I can't just go to the nail salon.
I can't go out in public.
The other thing too is when you see, like, her nails are polished, but she clearly bites them down.
Well,
right?
no, she's got to keep them short to play piano.
And guitar.
I think she's kept them short to play piano because they look short like mine. Like, right now, mine are short.
No, they look shorter like mine do. As somebody who used to bite my nails, like, because you see a couple times, like, her hand. Yeah, I felt like. But the other thing I found fascinating about this is that it starts off. I think it's less than she gets tired of being the good girl so much as she realized that wasn't working for her. She couldn't do it because it goes through, the movie makes a point, she talks about how all she ever wanted to be, she kind of lived for that approval, and she lived for the applause and lived for someone to say, just, that's a great job you did. And the Kanye moment happens and she thinks all the booing that happens is for her, not for him. And all these jokes and there's this, and she kind of has this come to Jesus moment where she realizes, oh, that's not actually giving me anything, right? And that comes up also around a discussion with her weight and how she's not starving herself anymore.
Right. And she's had eating disorders.
And I get the sense that she's come to a place where, like, oh, I need to, and she finds it, as that year off that she takes, she seems to find it in herself, something else to be focused on and what she's doing for her art as opposed to just doing it because I want the approval. And that was really interesting to watch.
I think she also figures out that, like, it's such a zero-sum game because you can do all the same stuff that you ever did and the public can just decide that they're sick of you now.
It was a hashtag.
Yeah,
the
right.
Taylor Swift is canceled party.
Exactly, and so like they can just turn on, like, you can put out your best album and then win all the awards, and then suddenly it's like, ugh, you again, we're sick of you. And so I think this movie has a lot of interesting things to say about fame. It's directed by Lana Wilson, who did After Tiller, which is a really great abortion doc if you get a chance to watch it. Tiller was the gynecologist who was murdered, assassinated by a right-wing terrorist in his church. This movie, I think, it has interesting things to say about fame, interesting things to say about how women are conditioned to be good and be nice and not make waves and get the approval of other people. I was really fascinated because, as somebody also not a giant fan of her work, but like, when you see young people in the spotlight, we immediately think, oh, stage mother kind of shoved them out there. But like, no, she's clearly had this drive from childhood. Yeah. Like, you see her getting a guitar for Christmas when she's like 8 or 9 years old and just being thrilled about it.
And writing all these songs as a kid.
Writing all these songs, and clearly getting
and they're pretty good.
Yeah. Her telling her parents, hey, can we move to Nashville so I can do this thing? So like, nobody was pushing her into it. Like, she was pulling the truck on this. And is still clearly like so focused and driven and hardworking, and because she's not just somebody who's like, I'm pretty and put me in a dress and I'll get out and sing. Like, she writes this stuff, and so at some point, if she decides that she's sick of it, I'm sure she could just sort of like throw on a muumuu, become Diane Warren, and not be seen for 5 years and still like have a fulfilling career. But she like puts herself through this grind of stuff and deals with eating disorders and is very frank about it in the movie.
And she talks about how all of like so much of her writing, so much of her music is coming from a very personal space. And that's not to say that other songwriters don't do that. I mean, the best Police album, Synchronicity, is all about Sting's divorce, right? And that's some of the best music those guys ever did.
She also talks about how female artists are expected to redefine themselves,
but not too much.
But not too much.
Yeah, that's a really
that whole monologue is very insightful.
It's that thing about how like men can have like the shirt they wore in college that they still wear 20 years later, but like women always have to kind of like God forbid you be seen in public wearing the same outfit twice if you're a celebrity.
Yeah, she's very smart and very self-aware, and I was impressed by that. I was impressed by her work ethic. I was impressed by her ability to still have a sense of humor about all of this, despite everything that she has gone through, the highs and the lows. I think she's learned a lot from living publicly, in that a lot of her songs were about relationships specifically, and now she's a little bit more guarded. We don't really see Joe Alwyn, who she's been involved with for a little while now. You kind of see him from the back, you see him in shadow, but she doesn't really talk about him. People have asked me,
they shoot him like a mob informant practically.
Yeah. They alter his voice, but like, she's learned enough now, like, this is special, I need to protect this. And so as she's 30 years old and she's learned from that, she's I really felt for her, and I really liked her. Like, I'm surprised.
Right. I mean, again, like, obviously you have to imagine that she had input on what was showing up.
Sure.
And it is, but she points out in the movie at some point, she's like, I spend so much time worrying about how I'm going to come off in my image. And I think she's speaking more than just a famous person about it's, and I'm sure you like, I don't have to tell you this, obviously, about how women have to worry about their persona. But she talks about how she gets accused of being too kind of not contrived, not manipulative, but like too calculated. But she can't not be calculated, because otherwise, if she acts out, people are like, "Oh my God, what did you do?" Like you're screwed both ways. And what she goes through trying to put her statement out, and how her management team, most of the men on the management team are like, one of them's like, if we came to you with an idea of how we were going to cut your audience in half, and they bring up the Dixie Chicks, and she's just like, look, we're doing this. But the other part that I really liked as a music nerd was like the inside baseball part of like how she makes music and working with various producers, and how she'll like on the fly be rewriting lyrics. I really liked when she's collaborating with the guy from Panic at the Disco, and they start sharing stories about stalkers. And I was like, whoa, that's an amazing moment that you don't ever hear about, right? And they're kind of like comparing, like, oh yeah, been there. I had somebody break into my house. Like, oh well, it's his apartment, now, right?
It seems so glamorous to be a rock star, right?
Right.
And it's not,
and,
maybe.
And in some, look, in a lot of places it is,
It can be,
but it's got its drawbacks, right? But I loved that kind of, again, that inside baseball aspect of like, here's the stuff you don't normally get to see. I thought that was really, really cool. And then when they talk about, she's telling him like, oh, and there's going to be a video, and not a little video. It's going to be a big one. And I'm so glad it made me go and watch the video, right? They show some production
right?
of the video for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you see like her dancing and kind of directing herself. Like when they're collaborating, she's with him, she tells him like, no, hit that last word a little bit of a different way, right? And so she's participating in the production process. I just found all that really fascinating.
Yeah, I liked all that too, all the behind the scenes stuff. And if you are a fan or not a fan, there's a nice mixture of like her just hanging out at home with her cats.
Yes.
And her going from one place to
And
another.
I like how her parents are so not showbiz. Like they're very supportive. They love her. They're there for
the giant
her,
dog.
But like they have not, like the she's not Dina Lohan.
Oh yeah. The one other thing is, so I went and watched the video for me, and there's 2 or 3 cats in that video, and they are her cats. I was like, oh, her cats made it.
There is no cats in this movie, however.
Right.
That's
like
true.
That,
No cats. Anyway, so I came away with a whole new appreciation for one of the most famous people on the planet. I liked it a lot. I'm saying 8.
I said 8.5.
You did.
I said 8.5.
You said 8 also.
8. Yeah, sure. 8.
8.2 is our number. It's at 93% on the tomato meter, and you can watch Taylor Swift Miss Americana right now on Netflix.
You can indeed. Thanks for watching us. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay, where we talk about TV recaps. We do trailers and movie news and all kinds of other extra goody stuff that only our members get to see, and we hope you'll enjoy it. And if you're already a member, thank you. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.